The second one is when we give pharmaceuticals for these things, does anyone here know what they primarily work with? Not exclusively, but primarily, like the serotonergic reuptake inhibitor Paxil that I took when I was a teenager. They're working with the neurotransmitter system in the brain. And now we know there's neurotransmitters in other places besides the brain. And neurotransmitters are this really interesting thing that communicate across neural synapses, but they also play an endocrine function. They're also hormones. If if molecular biology had a mental illness diagnosis, the neurotransmitters and hormones would have multiple personality disorder. They play multiple roles. And so in psychiatry, we're often treating these conditions as neurotransmitter disorders. So depression, we're trying to increase the amount of serotonin in the brain by limiting how quickly it gets reuptaked. Reuptake inhibitors is what Paxil, Prozac, this whole family of drugs that are antidepressants do. There's also MAO enzyme inhibitors and different types of drugs that are trying to change brain chemistry. It's not that it's wrong, it's a paradigm of looking at it. In bipolar, we used to treat it with lithium. Now we have, maybe some people are still prescribed lithium, but we have more refined classes of drugs that, again, are working with the brain's chemistry, biochemistry. Remember, it's a reflexive system. So what I'm about to say, it doesn't make that way of looking at it wrong. It's just a different lever for getting to it. Which is, what if it's not sourced in the neurotransmitters? What if the leverage isn't the brain chemistry, but the signals from our body telling which part of our brain to respond and perceive life? What if it's not the brain chemistry that needs to change, but our reactive autonomic nervous system? Or that's a big phrase for some that aren't in the medical conversation, but it won't be by the end of today. It's your gas and your brakes on your car. What if it's not the brain? What if it's the fuel pedal and the brakes? That's the second paradigm shift. If you think about bipolar, the manic phase is pedal to the metal. The depressive phase is all brakes, can't hit the accelerator. And if you're stuck in depression, it's brakes. Where's my accelerator? If you're stuck in anxiety, it's accelerator. Where's the brakes? What if we start taking charge of this with the fuel and the brakes of the nervous system instead of looking at it as a mental illness where we've got to somehow fix a broken brain? That's the second paradigm change.